Hi everyone, it's Cameron, and I want to go over with you the requirements for online courses for SAC-COC and the other funding and accrediting agencies that we report to. And so this is going to correspond to the self-review form that you got earlier in the week. We're not going to ask everyone to submit the self-review forms this semester. We just want you to acknowledge that you are following the guidelines, and you'll have a chance to do that in a form at the end of the presentation. And I'm not going to go over all of the items on the form. Some of those will be covered in other presentations this week. I'm going to go over 13 or so of the most important, really the most basic that aren't getting their whole own sessions. All right, so the first one on the list is that required menu items are visible to students, and the welcome announcement contains clear instructions for getting started. All right, we'll talk about the welcome announcement when we talk about the other announcements. The required menu items are announcements, start here, classroom, email, dashboard, and help. And if you want to add other menu items, such as discussion, smart thinking, link to a textbook, a glossary, you can do that by clicking the plus sign at the top of the menu, adding a divider line, and then adding a new tool link or content page or whatever it is that you want to go on the menu under those required items. All right, so then the Start Here section will contain the syllabus that is in the forms or documents repository, and it's a little bit different than syllabi from previous semesters because of the proctored event language. So make sure you have the current summer syllabus with the current proctored event language. We also need a printable list of all due dates for the semester in the Start Here section, and the events of the proctored event due dates. And we'll talk about proctored events in a whole separate session. But this list of due dates is so that students can print it out, keep it beside their computers, and check things off as they go, know exactly what's coming up this week. And then when they email us and ask for help, we can go to this list and say, well, the reason you can't see this is because the due date was yesterday, and so it's no longer visible, or whatever the help question may be. That's very helpful to students and to us. All right, the read this first item is something that students are taught to expect in badge. They're told to go to the Start Here section and go to the read this first document that will explain to them how the class is run. It's what you would say to students on the first day of class. You know, what are the important things? What are the weights of assignments? What special equipment do they need? You know, is there extra credit? What are the late penalties? So it's sort of your introduction to the class. And then you need an introduction of yourself as well. It's preferable if you have a picture, at least. A video, of course, is way preferable to that. But students like to know that they are working with a real life person who has a personality, and that they feel comfortable reaching out to, and that they feel like they're developing a relationship with. And so if students think that the course is just all auto-graded and there is no instructor there, they're much more likely to drop out. So this personalized introduction of the instructor is one of the retention efforts that we ask you to use. So here's an example of an instructor who combined the syllabus explanation with the instructor introduction in a nice video. The text is there as well. And then the video allows students to get to see what the instructor looks like, what the instructor sounds like. And then when they're reading her comments throughout the course, they can sort of hear it in her voice. And it does add a much more personal tone to the course. All right, so announcements need to be posted weekly to let students know that you are still there, the course is still continuing, everything is still going on. And they can be about what assignments are coming up this week, what people did well on last week, something that was in the news recently, anything to reach out to the students and say, hey, I'm here, I'm paying attention, and these are some tips for proceeding from here. I have this example from the Comp 1000 Master because Leanne gives instructions to everyone to go in and alter the announcement a little bit before the semester starts, before they post it, and then that will change the date on it. And so instead of having the old date of December 10th, 2019, once the instructor does something a little bit to the announcement to tweak it, then it will change to a current date. And it will change the posted by to that instructor's name. And so students don't look at the class and say, hey, wait, this was last year's class. I'm supposed to be in a class for this semester. They're not confused by the old dates or the different instructor name. So if you've copied a course, go in and change the dates on the announcements. If you have a copy of a course from someone else, go in and change every announcement to make sure that the date is current and that it replaces that other person's name with your own. All right, so in terms of classroom content, right, it's important that students have practice assessments. So we use tests, quizzes, multiple choice or true false activities and online assignments generally as practice or as low weighted assignments. And then we do projects, papers, presentations, other types of more independent work as the more heavily weighted assignments. And so in an online class, you're fortunate if you have a resource such as a website or a publisher site that has a lot of practice questions already developed. We of course do have a lot of practice material in Smart Thinking, and so use that, send your students to those practice assignments, go in there and look at them yourself first so that you'll know which ones to send students to and which units of your course. But give them opportunities to practice before they are assessed on something that counts a lot, right? And when possible, deliver the information in different modes. So maybe they'll have a reading assignment that can also be covered by watching a video, right? And then an example of a completed assignment. And so, you know, preferably students should do all of these, but if they miss something in the reading, they might get it in the video or vice versa. And these are not all videos that you have to create. Please use, again, smart thinking, maybe your publisher materials, things that you find on Khan Academy or YouTube. Be a curator. Use the resources that are out there. Discussion boards. We are going to have a whole separate session on discussion boards. What I wanted to remind you about here is that discussion boards go a lot easier for you if your instructions are very clear, your grading scale is very clear, students understand how many they have to post, what length they have to be, what they have to say in them, whether grammar counts, whether they're allowed to use outside resources. And so be as clear and as descriptive as you can in your instructions to students so that they know whether they have to write in complete sentences, whether putting good job to appear is enough of a comment, how much their original post is going to count, how much replies to other students count. And so, for example, you could break it down so that if the whole assignment is worth 100 points, their original post is worth 60 points, and then each reply that they do is worth 10 points, as long as it meets the criteria that you have set. So don't just give them a vague assignment and then take off for grammar or take off for using their book or take off for not writing enough to other students if you didn't explain in the instructions that they needed to do that. All right, so each unit in the class, in the classroom section, needs to have the state student learning outcomes identified, what assignments in the unit are going to be graded, how much they're going to count, and then why this information should matter to the students. And so this again is not only because we have to show these other agencies that we are meeting the SLOs that we're required to meet, but also because students need to be able to plan their week. And so if they say, oh, all I have in math this week is a quiz, they're like, you know, 10 minutes on Thursday night, no problem. All right, but then they get to the quiz and they see, oh, well, I had to download these other things and I had to read this and I had to do a lot and it's due in 10 minutes. There's no way I can do it. And so they have, you know, messed up their average because they didn't know in advance to plan for the amount of time that it was actually going to take. And so this is helpful to students to tell them, you know, expect to spend, and if this is a 3 contact hour course, then it should be 3 hours. On this unit, you've got this graded assignment, they'll count this much, and these concepts are important because. All right, so this is an example from Paul Visentainer's class. He puts a little video with each unit overview that explains to students what they'll be doing in the unit and how much it'll count and why they should care. Here's another example of a unit overview that has the same information, but this one is done in soft chalk, and so students click the numbers at the top to go to each subsequent page of it. And then, of course, when you're on a folder title, if you click the drop-down arrow beside the title of the course and choose Add Alignments, you can just pick for it to auto-fill in the SLOs for your course, and then you can go through and check the ones that actually apply to that unit. So they're all already written out for you in Blackboard. All right, we also teach students in badge that their class will be organized chronologically. They'll go folder to folder to folder, and you can call those folders units, modules, projects, as long as they're chronological. And so within each module or unit folder, you can have subsequent folders of chapters or weeks, or you can break it down by topic within the top level folders. And so here are the lectures for chapters 3, 4, and 5. Here are the assignments for chapters 3, 4, and 5. Here are the quizzes for chapters 3, 4, and 5. So once you get inside those top level folders, it no longer has to be strictly chronological. It can be topical inside there, but the top level folders have to be chronological. So here's an example from Dr. Vanderveld's accounting class, and she has the top level folders set up as modules, and then she has the subtitles on them so students know what that module is covering, and it's an easy way for them to keep track. And then you can see on the map over on the side that she has the content broken up inside each module to discussions, reading assignments, videos, and then assignments that students will actually submit. All right, the gradebook is very, very important. It's hard, but it's important. At some point soon, not this semester, but soon, the state is probably going to require all of us to use the Blackboard gradebook for the high school coordinators to pull dual enrolled students' averages, special pops of other sorts. We have these different grants that are based on different student populations. And so those people want to be able to go into Blackboard and pull grades for these special populations. So again, that's not going to happen this semester, but they are talking about it. So it will happen soon, that we're all required to use the Blackboard gradebook and have it accurate at all times, you know, within a week. And so we need you to do that, not just for these other groups, but for your students, right? That's probably the most frequent help request we get from students. I can't figure out what my grade is in this class. And so on the dashboard, you need to have that report card section. And then if you see here, I don't have any grades in any class other than Jim Porch's, and I'm doing quite well in his class, thankfully. But the column that Mr. Porch has set up with the green check beside it is going to be the number that the student sees on this report card module. And so when Mr. Porch looks at his grade book, his grade center, he sees the green check, the external grade is set on, let's just say he has a weighted total column. The weighted total column is the one that has the green check. And so that's what grade I am seeing right here on my dashboard as a student in his class. I'm seeing that I have a 97 as my weighted total. Now, if he had quiz 1 set with the green check, then I would see my grade in his class would be whatever I made on quiz 1. So you want to make sure that your green check is set on the right column, and that column has the accurate average for the student. All right, we're going to do a whole session on gradebook later, So that was just a brief overview. You can, of course, add other modules to the dashboard. Report card is the one that's very important and that's required. All of the rest are optional. You can add a leaderboard. You can add a dictionary. You can add a link to Smart Thinking. You can add a link to Galileo. There's other options in there. You just choose add module at the top of the dashboard, and whatever you put there, the students see there. If you're not using the calendar, the Blackboard calendar, you might want to go to that dashboard and delete anything that references the calendar, like what's due this week, what's past due, those kinds of things. All right, and lastly, the Ally score will be kept above 80%. Again, federal law, we have to do it. And so if you click under Tools on the left menu of your course, you'll see Accessibility Report. It'll open up a page like this for you, which will give you an overall accessibility score. And then these easy options that you can click on, you can either start with choose the easiest content to fix, or choose the lowest scoring items to fix. Those will bring up your grade the quickest. They might take a little longer each than the content with the easiest issues, but we're here to help if you run into trouble with that. But just make sure that you keep this score above 80% at all times. And we actually are having another session on accessibility, and it's going to be a contest among schools to see who can raise their score the highest. So we hope to see some prize winners out there amongst you.